Story time of how my boyfriend got my mom pregnant. So to get started with the story, this all happened on me and my boyfriend's 4 years. And he was super duper close with my family. Like, we go on every single vacation together. He was there for every holiday. He was there at my house almost every day. And it was honestly just an amazing relationship, in my opinion. Well, until he slept with my mom. But anyways, it was me and my boyfriend's 4 year, and I had planned this whole big, huge surprise for him. So his mom gave me a copy of the house key, just in case anybody was wondering how I got in. But I had decorated his entire room and spent about $400 on decorations and then about $1,500 on gifts. I had told him that something came up and I couldn't hang out that day. And my mom's a loudmouth, so I of course didn't tell her. I just told her I was out with a friend. And he had told me that he was staying with his friends. So I just wanted to wait and let him have the time with the boys and let him see the stuff the next day. So I head home and then I head into my mom's room because I wanted to then tell her what I did. And I walk into her room seeing my boyfriend and her sleeping together. I'm running out of time, like, for part two. Part two of how my boyfriend got my mom pregnant. So continuing on with the story, I walk into my mom's room and I see them literally sleeping together. Intensely. Very, very intensely. Looks like my mom was enjoying it more than I did. That's why you're 52 and divorced, mother. I hope you see this too. Anyways, I slammed the door so hard that I broke the side of the door and I run back to my room. That exact moment, I drove to his house, got every single gift I got him, yeeted those things in my car, mine now. That's why I get him gifts that I like just in case I ever have to take it back. Then I blocked him on absolutely everything and ghosted him. So of course I was really, really sad, and I went and stayed with my grandma for about a month because I was very, very upset with my mom. One day while she was at work, I come to my house to get some more of my stuff, and in my bathroom was a pregnancy test. Oh, and it was positive. Comes to find out, it's my boyfriend's baby. Oh, and that reminded me that I needed to take a pregnancy test. And as we're speaking now, I am 8 months pregnant with his freaking baby. Story time of how I got sexually assaulted by my stepdad for 4 years straight and nobody believed me. So my mom got with my stepdad when I was 5 years old, and all of the sexual assaulting started around 6. It went from the little things as of just saying dirty jokes to me, all the way to actually sexually assaulting me. One of the little things that he did is he would hide all of my underwear, then tell me I can't wear the dirty underwear that I had on, so I would have to go without wearing underwear, then he'd force me to wear a dress, so it's easier for him to touch me in all the wrong places. And he would always bribe me to sit on his lap by letting me fake drive the car. He would literally sit in my bed while my mom was at work and force me to watch adult videos, and would force my hand in places that it shouldn't go. He has done so much more things to me, but I don't really want to go in detail with everything else. And then one day he told me that if I ever told anybody about this, that I would be in very big trouble and my life and my mom's life would be at risk. And at such a young age, I didn't know what to do, so of course I kept everything to myself. And then things just got a lot worse. I'm running out of time, like, for a part two. Part 2 of how I got sexually assaulted by my stepdad for 4 years straight and nobody did anything about it. Continuing with the story, he started getting more comfortable with doing more and more things to me. It continued for years and years and years. I started to try to stand up for myself, but it never worked. It always would end up just making the situation worse, and he would harm me in spots that my mom isn't gonna check. And again, I was told that if I told anybody, then my life would be at risk, and so would my mom's. And again, I was also younger, so I didn't really know what to do. But then finally came a day where I had enough, and I went to go tell my mom. She told me that I was insane and didn't believe me whatsoever. I went to go try to tell my grandma, my grandpa, my aunt, my uncle, and my brothers, and none of them believed me. None of them believed me until 6 years later. I am now 17, and because my mom was so blindsided by this boy that she didn't believe what was happening in her own household, it caused me to have many scars, very disturbing, traumatizing experiences. Also wish me luck because in exactly 2 weeks from today, I'll be seeing this guy. Story time of how I found out that there was a guy living in my attic. I'm even pretty sure there's a couple articles on this. So basically living in the house was me, my mom, my dad, and my younger sister. This story ends up taking a huge twist, so just stay tuned for that. Also keep in mind that my boyfriend's name at the time was Jacob. When I first started to notice that there was somebody else in my house was when I first started dating Jacob. Mind you, the only time anybody in my entire family has ever been in the attic is the first 2 months that we lived there, and it was only once or twice, and we never seen anything up there. So we would notice that bits of our food would go missing, and every time we packaged leftovers, the leftovers in the Tupperware that we packaged the leftovers in would just completely disappear. And a bunch of my stuff would always go missing. For example, 2 of my pillows and 4 of my blankets gone missing, and my shoes and my clothes, and even my underwear. So one day my boyfriend came over and he left around 1 a.m. So the rest of my family was sleeping. Also, I have the whole entire upstairs to myself, and my mom, dad, and my sister sleeps downstairs. This story just ends up getting really crazy, so like for a part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that there was a guy living in my attic. Continuing with the story, I go downstairs and I walk my boyfriend out to the car. Of course, trying to be quiet because the rest of my family is sleeping. So I go back upstairs. Mind you, I have the whole upstairs to myself. And then I go to the bathroom and there was pee in the toilet. And on the wall in front of the toilet, it said Jacob was here with a heart. So I took a picture of it and I posted it on my private story because I just thought it was funny and cute at the same time. And he slid up and said, what? And then he swore up and down that it wasn't him. So anyways, it freaked me out at first, but at the same time, I didn't really care. So I didn't really pay any mind to it. So to speed the story up, my dad had to go in the attic for something, and he found an actual mattress covered in insulation. And in the corner, he found a guy. The guy looked very sickly, skinny, but scary at the same exact time. So, of course, my dad called 911 right away, and the guy admitted to stealing our food, stealing my underwear, stealing things out of my room, basically stealing from us overall, stealing our food, etc. I'm running out of time, but he ended up being a wanted criminal, but he's in jail now, so yeah. Story time of how my best friend was catfished by my dad. So me and my best friend were kind of just like swiping through Tinder for fun. And then she came across this really, really hot dude. So of course, she swiped right and they talked all night long. And he said he had an Android so he couldn't FaceTime, but his messages were blue, so I thought something was off. She was too blinded to see that something was up in the first place because she was messaging with a really hot guy. So about a week of them just like texting back and forth and I guess getting to know each other, they decided that they were going to meet up. So they both decided that they were going to meet up at an Olive Garden near them. And you see, as her best friend, of course, I'm going to have to go with her. So I got dressed up and I sat about 5 tables away from her. And we got there about 30 minutes earlier than we were supposed to be there. Okay, so my best friend had 3 bowls of fettuccine alfredo before he got there. So when he got there, it wouldn't look like she ate a lot. Then I see my dad walk in, all dressed up and fancy with a bow tie and everything. This story time just gets so much more funnier, so like for a part 2. Part 2 of how my best friend was catfished by my dad. Continuing with the story, I see my dad walk into the restaurant all dressed up. Mind you, my dad's married. To my mother, of course. So I was like, ooh, my dad and my mom are finally going on a date together. And then he looks over to my best friend and walks over to the table. When I tell you my heart dropped, my heart has never sank so deep inside me so fast. He sits down and asks her, is this Mackenzie? When I tell you I busted out laughing so freaking hard I fell out of my chair. And almost everybody in the restaurant turned around and looked at me, and so did my dad. And I walk over to the table and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? My best friend is literally just sitting there in shock, no emotion on her face. Then he looks at us, he looks really confused, his face goes blank, and then he goes, I was just trying to teach y'all girls a lesson. I told my mom and I was just getting a laugh out of it, and then she looked through his phone and said that he was meeting up with a bunch of 14-year-old girls. So comes to find out, my dad is a pedophile. My mom kicked him out, and if you're one of those girls, I really do apologize. Story time of how my stepmom got so jealous of me and my dad's bond that she plotted to kill me. So I never really liked my stepmom in the first place because she was a little controlling over my dad. And I just knew that she hated me and I really hated her too. But you know, my dad was in love and he seemed happy, so I didn't really say anything. And my dad would always take me to lunch on Saturdays and Sundays. And we'd have like a dad-daughter bonding day, I guess. And me and my dad were just super close. And every single weekend, me going to lunch with him would start an argument between them two because she said I was taking time away from them two. My dad really never chose sides, but I never really got involved in the relationship as much as I hated her because I just loved seeing my dad happy. Also, at this time, I was 15. And what I'm about to say next might sound just a little crazy and unbelievable, but I'm not sure who she was on the phone with. But while on the phone with somebody, she was talking about getting rid of me. Mind you, my mom had passed away when I was younger, and I really had no other family to go to. Now, this is where the story takes a turn for the worse and she tries to get rid of me. I'm running out of time, like for the crazy part 2. Part 2 of how my stepmom got so jealous of me and my dad's bond that she plotted to kill me. Continuing with the story, I don't know who she was on the phone with, but I overheard her on the phone saying that she was going to get rid of me. And honestly, I didn't really care and I didn't really think anything of it because I knew she was crazy, but I didn't think she was that crazy. So all of a sudden, she started making me breakfast. And I'm not a breakfast person, I can't eat right when I get up. So every time she would make me breakfast, I'd be like, thanks, but I'm not hungry. And she would get so mad. Like, so freaking mad. I'm not going to get into all the little details, but comes to find out she was putting rat poison in my food. She had set up cameras in my room. And I don't know what kind of sense this makes. I think she's just crazy, but she started to hide snakes in my room and claim it was my fault that the snakes were coming in my room. Yeah, doesn't really make any sense. Once I told my dad and my dad got out of his little in love stage with her, he finally stepped up and said something to her. And she admitted that she wanted me dead. He eventually called the cops, and to this day, she is in jail for attempted murder. Oh, did I forget to mention the day that he broke up with her, she tried to stab me in the throat. Storytime of how my dad slept with my 16-year-old sister. So yes, my dad did sleep with his biological daughter. So at the time, my sister was 16 and I was 14. Okay, so my sister and my dad had a really weird connection, but I just thought it was because he favorited her and he didn't really like me that much. He ended up saying his favorite was her because he knew that she was easy. But anyways, back to the story. Every single Friday, he would pick my sister up from school during lunchtime and take her back to the house, and they would have like daddy-daughter lunch there. And then my mom would do the same thing with me on Mondays. Okay, so my sister, one of her friends takes her to school and I take the bus in the morning, and I missed the bus one day. And at the time of me and my sister going to school, my parents are already at work, so I just decided that I was gonna have a day off. And yes, this day was a Friday. I'm pretty sure you guys can already see where this story is headed, but I was in my room, I was just chilling, sleeping, and then all of a sudden I hear stuff happening between my dad. Part 2 of how I caught my dad sleeping with my 16-year-old sister. Continuing with the story, after my dad and my sister come home for their lunch, I get woken up from my amazing nap hearing my dad and my sister doing the thingy. When I tell you my sister was off for waiting for marriage, oh my gosh. My sister wouldn't even touch a boy in the wrong spot before marriage. So I don't know how this came about. But listen, I am nosy as heck, so of course I tiptoed all the way over to them. They were in her room. I whipped my phone out so fast, I acted like I was on a talk show, and I said, "Presenting!" I opened the door, and I see my sister and my dad actually sleeping together. They were under the blanket, so I didn't see any private areas. My sister was really, really popular at school, so out of this situation, I got her to walk me around school everywhere. My dad bought me a car and gave me $1,000. Haha, I made him go broke. Then after I got everything I wanted, I told my mom. She kicked my sister and my dad out, and I'm pretty sure they live together now, but I haven't talked to him since. Storytime of how I found out that I was pregnant with my stepbrother's baby. So basically, I was 16 at the time, and my mom didn't let me date, so I had to keep dating this guy a secret from my mom. And every weekend, this guy would come over, and she was dating him, but she didn't think that we were ready to meet his kids yet. Okay, so to be able to hang out with my boyfriend, me and him both told our parents that we were going to a friend's house. And my best friend's mom does not care what she does, so me and him would both always go there. So about a year into dating this kid, me and him were both tired of keeping it a secret from our parents. And legit, coincidentally, the same exact night that I was going to tell my mom about my boyfriend is the same exact night her boyfriend was going to bring his kids over so we could meet them. So I was going to wait till after we met them so she was in a better mood. And when my mom's boyfriend got there, so did my boyfriend. Me and him literally don't know how we didn't catch on. So we both decided not to tell our parents yet. And then me and my boyfriend decided that we were just going to take advantage of it. Because my mom's boyfriend was going to be moving in, so that means I can live with my boyfriend. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that I was pregnant with my stepbrother's baby. Continuing on with the story, my mom's boyfriend moved in. And because my boyfriend was my mom's boyfriend's son, he also moved in. So every time my mom and her boyfriend, aka my boyfriend's dad, would go to sleep, me and my boyfriend would always end up in the same bed. I don't know how we hid this for such a long time, but they ended up telling us that they were getting married, so me and my boyfriend decided that we were going to tell them that we had been dating for, I think it was 2 years at the time. My mom and his dad were absolutely okay with it, and at that, they made us share a room in our new house. And an exact week after they got married, I ended up taking a pregnancy test just for fun, and it came out positive. I was literally so scared, and 2 days later, my mom told me that she was pregnant. So as we speak now, I have a 2-year-old brother by my boyfriend's dad, and I have a 2-year-old baby by my stepbrother. Oh, also for another story time, I caught my stepbrother, aka my boyfriend, sleeping with my mom. Yeah. Story time of how I caught my dad and my stepdad sleeping together. So a little background information, my mom and my real dad got a divorce when I was around 4. So like the typical, on the weekdays I'd be at my mom, and on the weekends I'd be at my dad's. Then when I was around age 6, my mom married my stepdad. And since they got married at such a young age, I called my stepdad dad and my real dad dad. This story ends up with a lot of confusion and chaos, so just get ready for that. So everything started to get a little weird when my stepdad went to go drop me off at my dad's house one day. My stepdad actually went into my dad's house and they talked for about like 5 hours. You see, I went to sleep, and then the next morning my stepdad and my dad were both making me breakfast. And then I overheard my stepdad on the phone with my mom saying that he had an overnight shift. So I didn't say anything because every time I tell my mom something, she ends up believing my stepdad anyways. Because I mean, my stepdad's always right? Anyways, the next time that he dropped me off, my stepdad ended up staying again. Then I ended up walking into my dad's room seeing both of their pants off. I'm running out of time, like for part 2. Part 2 of how I caught my dad and my stepdad sleeping together. Continuing on with the story, I asked my dad a question, so I walk into his room and I see my dad and my stepdad's pants off. One was laying down, the other was... You. My dad quickly jumps off the bed and he jumps up so fast that he falls off the bed.
everything is locked up to prevent stealing. There was these two adorable girls. They were literally looked so cute and innocent. Pigtails and everything. The mom or dad or parent or guardian or whatever was nowhere to be found. Well, like, wasn't by them. And at max, they were 4 and probably 7. They were tiny little adorable things. One of them pulls a hammer out of their, like, bag and starts hitting one of the phone case things, trying to get it out of, like, the security thing. I already knew what they were doing. And I was like, girls, you're not going to be able to get that out of there. Just go to the cases over there. Because there was, like, a little section of dollar cases that wasn't, like, security protected. The 4-year-old, or, like, the younger one, looks at me and goes, F you, B, but says the cuss words, throws their little hammer at my foot, but doesn't hit me with it, then kicks me, then grabs, like, the phone case security box thing, calls me a F-A-G-G, then you know the rest, and said, no, I'm stealing this one, bro.
Story time of how I found out that my 13-year-old sister was sleeping with my teacher and nobody ever did anything about it. So this is the first time that I'm actually telling anybody, because I'm finally old enough to realize that all of this was just wrong. So at the time, my sister was in 8th grade and I was in 6th grade. So my sister claimed that she needed extra help in history, and I guess my mom trusted him, because after school he would